Welcome to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
I'm Ray Evernham. I'm originally from Hazlet, New Jersey. I'm retired from being a crew chief and car owner in NASCAR for many years. I'm still a racer. People think it takes bravery to be a driver, and you've got to be a little bit brave, but the best drivers I know are smart. Be committed. You're not going to do this without commitment. The Cup Series is the ultimate, it's the show. And when you get the Cup, it's on. The races are longer, the competition is harder. Everything you do is more critical than it ever was because everybody at that level is already a champion.
You've made it to the top. Now, go show the world what you can do.
Congratulations on making it to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. You know, I've spent a lot of my career making drivers into champions. This is a huge milestone for you, and I believe with my hard work and your talent, we can make you a champion.
We're live from beautiful Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, for today's running of the great American race, the Daytona 500. Another season of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup racing is about to get underway. The forecast calls for blue skies and temps in the mid-70s. Perfect weather for racing. The drivers are in their cars and the sold-out crowd is on their feet. It's that time of year again. It's time for NASCAR racing. Welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the running of the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. This 1.5-mile oval is popular with both fans and drivers alike. It's popular because 21 years of wear has widened the racing groove from the apron to the wall. There's very little grip, which produces side-by-side action and close finishes. Now, the track surface was all set to get resurfaced after the 2017 race, but an outpouring of opposition forced them to push that date back. Will we get another close finish today? Let's head on down to the track and find out right here on PRN. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series makes its first stop in Las Vegas for the running of the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. Vegas has grown so much in popularity that NASCAR doubled down and added a second race in 2018. Today, the field is stacked with NASCAR drivers seeking to get on a roll. In 2017, eventual Cup champion Martin Truex Jr. picked up his first win of the year here, also becoming the first driver ever to win all three stages in a single race. Will he hit the trifecta again today? Let's head on down to the track. We're just about ready to get underway on PRN. Welcome to Avondale, Arizona, and the recently rebranded ISM Raceway for today's running of the Ticket Guardian 500. ISM, formerly Phoenix International Raceway, recently completed a massive renovation that has dramatically improved the race experience for fans. One of the biggest changes was the moving of the grandstands to the south side of the track, giving spectators some much-needed shade. But this change meant the start-finish line and pits also needed to move to the former location of Turn 2. Will these new updates have a big impact on the outcome of today's race? Let's head on down to the track and find out. Hello, everyone. Today, NASCAR wraps up its annual West Coast swing with a stop at Auto Club Speedway for the running of the Auto Club 400. Auto Club, located in Fontana, California, is roughly 50 miles due east of Hollywood. The stars of NASCAR are ready to take the stage and tackle this 2-mile D-shaped asphalt oval. Drivers like Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, and California native Jimmy Johnson will all try to grab the spotlight with a trip to victory lane. This fast and wide racetrack has multiple grooves, which means lots of passing opportunities. So grab your popcorn. Today should be quite a show. We're coming to you live from Martinsville Speedway in Ridgeway, Virginia, for the running of the STP 500. Known as the Paperclip due to its unique shape, this historic track is the shortest in NASCAR, at just over a half mile in length. Opened in 1947, Martinsville is also the only track to be on the NASCAR circuit since the very beginning. This historic venue is overflowing with NASCAR tradition and memories. Today, it's also overflowing with fans excited to see our first short track event of the year. So grab a chair and settle in. NASCAR racing is coming up next. Hello, race fans. Today, the stars of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series stampede into Texas for the running of the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. In 2017, this 1.5-mile D-shaped oval received a Texas-sized overhaul when a new layer of asphalt was added and banking was reduced in turns 1 and 2 by 4 degrees. Let's head trackside to see if these drivers have mastered this new configuration. Time to go racing on PRN. Hello everyone and welcome to Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee for the running of the Food City 500. This half-mile concrete oval is famous for its high-banking, stadium-like seating and all the beating and banging that goes on between the competitors. In fact, sometimes there are more fireworks during this race than on the 4th of July. But there's no room for hurt feelings or bruised egos today. All that matters to these drivers is winning this race. This is Bristol Motor Speedway, and this is NASCAR Racing on PRN. We're here at Richmond Raceway for the Toyota Owners 400. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series makes its first of 2 stops at America's premier short track. Located just outside of Richmond in Henrico County, this 3/4-mile D-shaped oval has just undergone a large infield redevelopment project that brings race fans closer to all the exciting action. Right now, we're ready to get closer to that action ourselves. The green flag is about to fly. It's time to go racing. Today, we make our first stop at Talladega's Superspeedway for today's running of the Geico 500. Talladega is 2.66 miles long, making it the longest track in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Its relatively wide layout also allows drivers to run in rows of 3, 4, and sometimes even 5 lanes. Such close-quarter racing is thrilling for us, but leaves them little time to react to any incident, raising the possibility of the big one. Who will stay out of trouble and make their way to victory lane today? Let's head down to the track and find out. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series rolls into Dover, Delaware for the running of the AAA 400 Drive for Autism. Dover International Speedway, also known as the Monster Mile, is a track with banking so high, drivers often call it a roller coaster ride. In 2017, Jimmy Johnson rode this roller coaster to his 11th checkered flag, extending his own track record for wins. He is clearly not intimidated by Miles the Monster. Can the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet do it again? Let's go trackside for the start of the race. Good evening, race fans. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is at Kansas Speedway for the running of the KC Masterpiece 400. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and that means we're about a third of the way through this exciting NASCAR season. What better present for Mom than a win tonight at this 1.5-mile tri-oval? who will make their way to victory lane and possibly submit a spot in this year's playoffs. Let's head down to the track and find out. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. We're at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the running of the Coca-Cola 600. This event is the longest on the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. At 600 miles, it's a true test of endurance and patience. Tonight also marks the last time this year these drivers will race this 1.5-mile quad oval layout. When we return in October, NASCAR will unleash the Roval, a road course oval hybrid that's been the talk of the town. But that's the future. Tonight is about tradition. The Coca-Cola 600 is coming up next on PRN. We're coming to you live from Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania for today's running of the Pocono 400. Now, this tricky triangle is different than any other track these drivers will encounter all year. There are only 3 turns, each unique in design. Also, the tight turns and relatively low banking will require drivers to do a lot more shifting than the typical 2.5-mile speedway. So nailing the setup of the car is crucial. Which of these teams will unravel the mystery that is Pocono and make their way to victory lane? Well, the green flag is in the air. Let's go find out. The stars of NASCAR thunder into Michigan International Speedway for today's running of the Firekeepers Casino 400. This D-shaped 2-mile oval is nestled in the tranquil and scenic Irish Hills area of southeastern Michigan. However, this locale will be anything but tranquil today, as this sprawling landscape plays host to the best race car drivers in the world. Michigan is fast. In fact, the track is the fastest track on the schedule, with speeds often reaching more than 200 miles per hour. So you better buckle up, because NASCAR racing is coming up next. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series hits the road today, literally, for the running of the Toyota Save Mart 350. Sonoma Raceway is the first of 3 road course events on this year's schedule. This twisting 12-turn, 1.99-mile drive through the heart of wine country is a true test of racing skill. There's over 160 feet of elevation change here, something that isn't obvious when watching on TV. Now, some turns are completely blind, like turns 3 and 3A, and you're almost always on the wheel here, which requires a different mindset after all the oval races. The pace car is coming down pit road. We're ready to go racing on PRN. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chicagoland Speedway for today's running of the Overton's 400. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is stopping in Joliet much earlier than in years past. Up until the beginning of the 2018 season, this venue hosted the first event of the playoffs, but now it closes out the first half of the regular season. Whenever Chicagoland appears on the schedule, this 1.5-mile D-shaped tri-oval is going to be a formidable challenge. Will we see a close finish, or will someone breeze into victory lane here in the Windy City? Let's send it down to the track as the green flag is in the air. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to Daytona International Speedway for the running of the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Now, we're halfway through what has so far been a thrilling regular season. Several drivers have already clinched their spots in the playoffs. For those on the outside looking in, a win and you're in. But winning here is never easy. The racing action at Daytona is as hot and unpredictable as the Florida weather. We're all set to go 400 miles. NASCAR racing is next. This week, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is at Kentucky Speedway for the running of the Quaker State 400. Kentucky is a daunting 1.5-mile asphalt tri-oval located in Sparta, Kentucky, about 60 miles northeast of Louisville. Now, in 2017, Martin Truex Jr. won his series-leading third race of the season here in overtime. He also swept all three stages. He was clearly emerging as the championship favorite after that dominant performance. So will a different driver start to separate themselves from the pack here in the Bluegrass State? Well, we're about to find out. NASCAR racing from Kentucky is coming up next on PRN. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series makes its one and only stop at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the running of the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301. Opened in 1990, this 1-mile oval racetrack is in Loudon, about an hour north of Boston. New Hampshire previously hosted 2 NASCAR Cup events, but lost its playoff race to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2018. So, these drivers only have one chance to make it count here. The green flag is in the air. Let's get ready to go racing on PRN. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series visits New York and Watkins Glen International for the running of the Go Bowling at the Glen. The Glen is NASCAR's second road course stop of the season. In 2015, this 2.5-mile 7-turn track underwent a full repave that made the racing surface much smoother and added a ton of grip. However, drivers still need to be careful out there, especially when entering the famed bus stop chicane, an area of the track notorious for taking out even the best drivers. Okay, the pins are set. It's time to go bowling at the Glen. This week, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races back to Michigan International Speedway for the second and final time this year. Michigan is the fastest track in NASCAR, making it a favorite of race fans. In 2017, another fan favorite, Kyle Larson, won here, making it 3 straight Cup wins at Michigan. That hasn't been done since Bill Elliott did it all the way back in the 1985-86 season. Can Kyle do it again today? Or will someone else start a hot streak of their own? Well, it's time to head down to the track and find out. NASCAR racing is next. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to the last great Coliseum for the running of the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race. One of the most popular events on the NASCAR schedule, this half-mile concrete oval is famous for its bone-rattling hits and heart-stopping finishes. To put it mildly, this race is special, and there's simply nothing quite like Bristol Motor Speedway under the lights. Only 3 races left before the playoffs start. Who will come out on top tonight? Well, it's time to find out on PRN. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to Darlington Raceway for the running of the Bojangles Southern 500. This unique egg-shaped oval, also known as the Track Too Tough to Tame, has had a long history of tormenting drivers. However, more recently, a new tradition has taken root here. Darlington has become the home of the official NASCAR Throwback Weekend. So join us as we celebrate 7 decades of NASCAR and take a fun trip back through time. Let's do some old school racing. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series has finally made its way to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the running of the Big Machine Vodka Brickyard 400. The Brickyard now marks the final stop of the regular season, a spot normally held by Richmond. So, for those drivers on the fringe, kissing the bricks may mean a lot more than in years past. For them, a victory here may be their last shot at glory. Which of these drivers will make the final cut? It's time to head down to the track and find out.
Congratulations on making the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Good luck.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for today's running of the South Point 400. Today marks the beginning of the 10-race Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. After a knockdown, drag-out regular season, only 16 drivers still have a shot at NASCAR's greatest prize. The final road to glory starts here at this 1.5-mile tri-oval located just 15 miles north of the Vegas Strip. So, grab a chair and we'll deal you in. It's time for NASCAR playoff racing on PRN. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Richmond Raceway for the running of the Federated Auto Parts 400. Tonight, we make our final stop at this 3/4-mile short track in Henrico County, Virginia. In previous years, this event marked the end of the regular season. But tonight, the stakes are even higher. A win at America's premier short track could move one of these drivers into the round of 12. With the unfamiliar Roval up next on the schedule, expect our contenders to really push to advance tonight. The NASCAR playoffs are in full swing, so let's go racing. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the running of the Bank of America 400. After today, the playoff field goes from 16 to 12. And for the playoff drivers on the cusp, they'll have to fight to stay alive on the most unique track in NASCAR, the Charlotte Roval. The Roval combines an infield road course segment with the traditional 1.5-mile oval, creating a 2.28-mile, 17-turn test of racing knowledge and skill. Are you ready to see if these drivers can pass this test? NASCAR Playoff Racing is next on PRN. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs picks up in Dover, Delaware. This race marks the beginning of the round of 12 after 4 drivers were eliminated in Charlotte last week. If those remaining 12 wish to move on, they'll have to conquer the formidable Monster Mile, a concrete oval with 24 degrees of banking in the turns and 9 degrees of banking in the straights. The drivers are ready. Miles the Monster is ready. So pull up a chair. NASCAR Playoff Racing is coming up next. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series makes its final stop at Talladega Superspeedway for the running of the 1000bulbs.com 500. The playoffs are in full swing, and for those drivers in the chase, a win today at NASCAR's longest track would clinch a spot in the next round. However, taking a checkered here is much easier said than done. This relatively wide track allows cars to run 3, 4, and sometimes 5 wide. But that kind of close-quarter racing is a surefire recipe for the big one. Which of these drivers will steer clear of trouble and visit victory lane? Let's head down to the track and find out. NASCAR Racing is coming up next. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to Kansas City, Kansas for the running of the Hollywood Casino 400. We're halfway through this year's playoff season, and after today, the list of playoff contenders will be cut from 12 to 8. In 2017, Martin Truex Jr. became the first driver to sweep both races at this 1.5-mile tri-oval on his way to his first ever NASCAR Cup Championship. Will Truex Jr. continue his recent dominance here, or will another driver emerge victorious and cement their spot in the next round? Let's head down to the track as the action is just about ready to get underway.
Hammer time, let's go. Make this qualifying lap count, please. All right, time. Let's see where we place.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, the NASCAR playoffs continue at Martinsville Speedway for the running of the first Data 500. Only 8 drivers still have a shot to take home that coveted Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series championship. Now, to advance, those drivers are going to have to tame the shortest track on the schedule. But don't let Martinsville's small stature fool you. This classic venue still packs quite a mean punch. The drivers are on the track. We're ready to go racing. Today, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series thunders back to Texas and Texas Motor Speedway for the running of the AAA Texas 500. They say everything's bigger in Texas. For our remaining playoff contenders, that saying holds especially true as the stakes today don't get any bigger. In 2017, Kevin Harvick punched his ticket to the championship race by way of a thrilling victory here in the Lone Star State. Who will master this 1.5-mile asphalt speedway today? The green flag is in the air, so let's go racing on PRN. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series returns to ISM Raceway today for the Can-Am 500. We've reached the penultimate event of this thrilling season, and there's no better place than ISM Raceway to take in all the exciting action. ISM's multi-million-dollar renovation is complete, and the upgrades are simply amazing. Fans are raving about the new amenities and fan zone experience. There's lots of excitement around the race as well, because after today, the Championship 4 will be set. Who will be headed to Homestead with a shot at the championship? Well, it's time to find out. NASCAR Racing is next. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway for the running of the Ford EcoBoost 400. Tonight, NASCAR will crown the next Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion. Over 40 drivers started the season with high hopes and big dreams. But after a grueling regular season and a roller coaster ride through the playoffs, only 4 of them can still cling to that dream. For the Championship 4, it all comes down to one race. 400 miles from glory. 400 miles from a date with destiny. The wait is finally over. NASCAR's championship race is coming up next.